Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So, welcome back, and we were talking about how to improve your vocabularies, business English for communication and business vocabulary. So, cannot stress enough on reading. Read the so-called more serious works of writing, okay, serious printed works, where you will find where there are no abbreviations or shortcuts um, or slang kind of a language. If you read serious um, writings, your vocabulary, your power of expression would, you will soon find, would automatically improve and increase. Reading extensively makes one encounter and confront new words and grammatical patterns, syntax. You will somehow learn, absorb, unconsciously you will learn how to connect the pattern, how to make sense of this kind of a pattern. So, those inbuilt language formulas, they will become a part of your psyche. You will understand them in a much better way, in a much quicker way. This will also help you sometimes make sense of the word within a context. You may not be able to understand the exact meaning. You may not, this could have been the first time you have seen the word. But if you read a lot, you will automatically understand how to make sense of certain words within a context. And this will help you also predict that what words or what kinds of structures would follow. Always make or maintain a vocabulary note, a mental note. The duration of this course, you may encounter a number of new words. So, always, because we do a lot of reading, I show you a lot of written passages. Even if I do not tell you the exact meaning of certain words, please make a mental note of those words and sentence patterns. Create your own vocabulary list with the words you learn along with the meanings you have looked up in the dictionary. So, even if because of time constraints or any other reason I am not able to tell you the exact meaning of a certain word, please make a note of it, and once you have time, look it up and try to remember the meaning of that word. Now, look at this slide, and I am giving you sample vocabulary. A very common word in business English, deficit, and the word in the bracket is N, that is a grammatical category of noun. And this is what a dictionary would normally tell you. A deficit generally means a lack or shortage. In economics, this concept is understood as the opposite of a surplus. Thus, the amount by which a resource falls short of a mark. It is the amount by which the expenses or costs exceed income or revenues. So, the word is generally used with another term. Deficit is not just like that. You don't, you all, sometimes even in non-business communication context, you may say attention deficit, affection deficit. Attention deficit means lacking. But most of the time in business language, business English, we use the word deficit in relation with something like trade deficit, fiscal deficit, budget deficit. Yeah. For example, we may say the deficit is down to 2.8% of GDP from a height of 10.4%, or you can say the state policy highlights its deficit in understanding the problems of its citizens. So, here you are looking at deficit in connection with state policy. Now, as I told you already, to understand the meanings of the word in context is important, and you should also be able to understand the word category of certain words and expressions, whether the word is a noun or a verb or an adjective or adverb. So that's something that we are going to revisit very soon in today's class. Now let's look at this particular passage, exercise 2.1. Look at the slide and read the following passage. India's inflation, and pay particular attention to the words that are underlined, okay, because next exercise would be based on the underlined words. India's inflation climbed to 6% last month, its highest since last summer and up from 5.7 in February. The underlying rate of inflation excluding mortgage interest payments rose to 4.5%. The main reason for the inflation increase was the March 1st rise in mortgage rates. But there was a range of other price increases. Food prices, for example, rose 0.6% last month and have increased 6.5% over the past year. Seasonal food prices are also up than a year ago. Official figures also showed that the average earnings grew by 9.1% in last 12 months and is higher than the previous month. Here are your questions. Make vocabulary notes for the words that are new to you. So that is one pointer. And then complete the 3 vocabulary networks. I am going to show you another slide. And there are networks using the 12 words that are underlined in the text. So the 12 words that are underlined in the text, and look at this network of vocabulary. 4 verbs that mean went up. Second one, 4 nouns related to money, and then third one, 4 adjectives related to time. Underlined words, and then categorize them on the basis of their function, whether it's a verb or noun or adjective, and then meanings went up, money and time related. Next question. Here is something that you should know. This is just a brush up based on 2.1. Noun is a word used to identify any of a class of people, places or things. Noun is the name of a person, place or thing. I am just trying to recap your basic grammar. What's a verb? Verb is used to describe an action, state or occurrence. An adjective, a word that describes or names an attribute of a noun. Costly article. So here costly is an adjective, although it may look like an adverb because of an ly suffix. Now answers here. One verbs that mean went up, climbed, rose, increased, grew. These words are given in the passage that you have just seen. Nouns related to money, payments, interest, mortgage, prices. These were all underlined. And adjectives related to time, last, past, previous, seasonal. You are not talking about standing last, but last season. So that therefore it is related to time. Please take a moment and look at the slide carefully. Now, one very important aspect of business English is ability to read graphs, charts and various diagrams, tables, bar graphs, bar charts. So why do we use that? This is, there's so much of information, and in description it may not look so nice. So generally such kind of information which requires lots of statistics, figures and data is transformed or translated not just in writing or descriptive form, but also in graphs, charts and diagrammatical form. So they are often used to present information and data. This, if you are interested in business English, if you are supposed to or expected to take any exam of business English, then it is mandatory that you know. Not all of you may enjoy or get very thrilled about understanding, interpreting graphs and charts, but this is also a part, an integral part of business English and communication. Remember that you have to do it, and certain phrases and vocabulary often make it very interesting or easier to present figures and trends in a much lucid way. For example, you can say an exponential increase. As you will see from this graph, a dramatic decline, a dramatic increase. The figure refers to so and so country, and we are expected to do a comparison between this and this kind of charts or figures or statistics, or in the line diagram you may notice or you will notice, and something like that. So, these are the useful expressions that you often find. Now, look at the slide here. I have given some information which may make your vocabulary definitely richer, and you may find it very useful to use these expressions in your writing and also in spoken presentations. So, increases and decreases. Expressions related to increases. Please look at the slide here, list here. A slight increase, a constant increase, a substantial increase. You can also say an increase of roughly or an increase of approximately in the region of, an increase in the region of dash %. You can also say increase a little over, an increase in above what we predicted, and overall increase in. So, and increases and reaches record levels, reached a peak in, a strong surge in the sales of, increase, and we predict that sales will soar. So, soar is another important word that you should know in the coming year over the next. So, what are we doing here exactly? We are looking at the kinds of expressions that that would add more flavor, more color to your written and oral, verbal expression. So, please look at it again and the various forms in which you can express yourself when you are talking about increase in something, increase in numbers or percentage or data. And what do? At the other end of the spectrum, decreases just under our target, way below our expectations, a slight or notable or significant decrease, but do not use all these words, that would look very artificial. The downturn began, the situation began to deteriorate, the number has continued to fall. There is a dramatic decline, there is an exponential increase. So, these are the words that you should make a part of your lexicon. And look at this slide, conclusion and useful phrases. When you conclude your description, then these are the expressions that you can say. In conclusion, of course, we must focus our attention on, what I suggest is, there is a necessity for, we have no choice but to, appropriate measures must be taken, the only option we have is to, these changes are inevitable, the result or outcome, I strongly recommend, to conclude, I regret, etc. It all depends on what kind of writing you are expected to do. So, I conclude and I regret or I recommend is something which is more personal, more subjective, and it may be all right in a certain kind of writing. But most of the time when you are writing or when you are doing a very objective analysis of of a given data or chart or diagram, is better to use expressions like we must focus our attention to or on, or the only conclusion we can draw, or in conclusion the outcome is, the result is, something which is less subjective and more objective. A tip that I may want that I would like to give you while you are reading a graph is always circle and highlight the graph. Sometimes it is better to make short notes, bullet points. You should always be able to understand what is the main feature of a data, what is happening, identify the trend, What are the changes? Is there any particular thing that strikes or stands out? The most noticeable thing about the graph. So, these are the things that you should look at. Don't focus on the smaller information or but the larger picture. Look at the larger picture. Sudden and decline or increase, those are the things that you have to pay attention to. Now, look at this graph, look at this slide here. The line is units of cars manufactured. You have the months, you have the units, the numbers. How would you express it? There is a plateau somewhere, the stability in certain months. There is a decline, there is an increase, there is a gradual increase, there is a sudden increase. Look at the trends here. Now, having seen that, try to fill in the blanks here and using the words that are given here. Rose sharply, drop, all-time low, remained, recovered, increased. It's all based on the graph that you have just seen. So, in January, production experienced an dash at 1123 units. In February, it dashed slightly to 1336 units. Production dash the next month and dash increasing in the month of April. The changes in taxation policy in the month of August caused production to dash drastically. From then, the production has dash. 6 expressions, 6 blanks. Here are the answers. Please look at the slide here. All-time low, increased slightly, rose sharply, remained, dropped, recovered. So, these are the kinds of expressions that come out of a simple graph. Please add all these words to your repertoire of vocabulary. Now, look at this slide, and for letter writing or email writing, nowadays people don't write letters, they write emails. So, perhaps you may find it useful to make or to write a more formal kind of email. These are the expressions that you may find, you may come across very frequently and you may be expected to use. As per your orders, as soon as possible, awaiting your reply, in reply to your letter, to our mutual benefit, to be in arrears with payments, looking forward to your reply, with reference to inform in due time, further to our letter, to notify in advance about, due to oversight. These are the expressions that you should be able to use, not just in your writing, but also in your oral presentation. Look at this, and your question is, go through the following email and answer the questions. So, you from to subject and dear so and so, salutation is important, of course. Thank you for dash, and you have to use short list in its appropriate form. Me for an interview at your company, ABC Enterprises. The interview had taken place on the 20th of September 2017 and had been conducted by Mr. Shanmugan, the manager of the company. However, I have received no further intimation about the status of my application. I dash, and then look at the questions here. First, thank you for, choose the correct tense for A. Had shortlisted, shortlist, have shortlisted, shortlisting, which is the best response. And then next question, please look at it. Choose the correct synonym for intimation. You, in the email you came across this word, intimation. So, A, is it scared, or is it announcement, or is it an email? Next question, choose the correct phrase. In the blank, order you to, request you to, kindly request you to. What should be the, yeah? And here are the answers. One is D, shortlisting me. Announcement, intimation is announcement, and I kindly request you to. Now, let us look at this question. Next exercise, choose the correct synonym for the emboldened or highlighted words. I cater specifically to young mothers and newly married couples. Cater means A. Provide services for, B. Target exclusively, C. Overcharge. Next question. After a short hiatus, they are finally getting in on the race. So that means entering the market, B. Running, C. Faltering. Getting in on the race. What does it mean exactly? Third one, for the last 2 years, it was underwater. A. Submerged under the sea. B. Floating on water. C. Facing huge debt. What does underwater mean? And answers are cater, provide services for, and second one is entering the market, and underwater is facing huge debt. Next one, look at the passage here. Read the following passage and answer. That's more than 1200 pounds in cash for every man, woman and child in the UK. Research shows the average person has about 77 pounds in cash in their purse, pocket and at home. However, an increasing number have much more squirreled away safely, and most of it is in 20-pound notes, which account for more than half of the total. But this is not a peculiar quirk of the British character. There are mountains of cash around the world, although you would struggle to see them. There were so and so of US dollars in circulation last year, an increase of 6% in 2015, with more than $1 trillion made up of $100 notes. There were euro 1.1 ton of euro notes in circulation in August, up by 6% on a year ago. Millions of mattresses are being stuffed with notes around the globe. Mass cash stashing might signal a widespread fear of a looming apocalypse, or more prosaically, it could signal rampant illegality. The rapid growth in cash sloshing around the UK could be a warning sign for the economy, as banknotes can facilitate crime and tax evasion. In a nod to the doommongers, the Bank of England estimates some people could be hoarding money for a rainy day. Here are your questions. Which of the following word means went up? A. Increase, B. Squirrel, C. Facilitate. Next one. What does the word doommonger mean? A. Somebody who loves cash, somebody who predicts disaster, C. A type of dog. Next. Number 3. Provide the most appropriate antonym, opposite for stuff as a verb. A. Fill, B. Unload, C. Infinity. Okay, so here are your answers. First, went up is increase, doommonger, someone who predicts disaster, and stuff is fill. Stuff your mattresses with notes, bank notes. Now, coming to your last exercise for today, use the following words in the blanks, and you are going to find a passage in the forthcoming slides, and use these words: commerce, expand, auctions, value added, relevance, driver. And here is your passage. So, read and fill in the blanks using the words that you have just seen. At its core, e-commerce refers to the purchase and sale of goods and or services via electronic channels such as the internet. E-commerce was first introduced in the 1960s via an electronic data interchange (EDI) on, and this is your first blank, on Dash networks (VN). The medium grew with the increased availability of internet access and the advent of popular online sellers in the 1990s and early 2000s. Amazon began operating as a book shipping business in Jeff Bezos' garage in 1995. eBay, which enables consumers to sell to each other online, introduced online Dash in 1995 and exploded with the 1997 Beanie Babies frenzy. Like any digital technology or consumer-based purchasing market, e-commerce has evolved over the years. As mobile devices became more popular, Mobile Dash has become its own market. With the rise of such sites as Facebook and Pinterest, social media has become an important dash of e-commerce. As of 2014, Facebook drove 85% of social media originating sales on e-commerce platform Shopify per Paymil. Next, we continue. The changing market represents a vast opportunity for businesses to improve their dash and expand their market in the online world. Researchers predict e-commerce will be 17% of US retail sales by 2022 according to Digital Commerce 360. The US will spend about 460 billion dollars online in 2017. These figures will continue to climb as mobile and internet use dash both in the US and in developing markets around the world. I am sure this is something that you really know about and you really enjoy, and you also should understand the way the writer has expressed himself. We are basically talking about online and e-commerce, online commerce, e-commerce, and so many of us are already aware of so many of the e-commerce ventures that the passage mentions. So, this is the way you express yourself, and let's look at the solution here. At its core, and I have highlighted all the blanks, so you need not worry about the sentence. At its core, e-commerce refers to the purchase and sale of goods and or services via electronic channels such as the internet. E-commerce was first introduced in the 1960s via an electronic data interchange EDI on value-added networks. So, that is the first one. The medium grew with the increased availability of internet access and the advent of popular online sellers in the 1990s and early 2000s. Amazon began operating as a book shipping business in Jeff Bezos' garage in 1995. eBay, which enables consumers to sell to each other online, introduced online auctions in 1995 and exploded with the 1997 Beanie Babies frenzy. Like any digital technology or consumer-based purchasing market, e-commerce has evolved over the years as mobile devices became more popular, mobile commerce. So, remember where to use the word like commerce and value added. You cannot say, of course, you can always say online commerce also, but see contextually where it is more appropriate. So, that is the way. See, many a time you may find the same vocabulary, the same word may fit in various places. It may collocate with various words, but you have to look at the context also. With the rise of such sites as Facebook and Pinterest, social media has become an important driver of e-commerce. Look at the word driver here and the context and the way it is used here. As of 2014, Facebook drove, etc. And then let us look at the last passage. But the changing market represents a vast opportunity for businesses to improve their relevance. You can also say improve their commerce, but see where relevance fits in better and expand their market in the online world. Researchers predict e-commerce will be 17% of US retail sales by 2022. The US will spend about this much. These figures will continue to climb as mobile and internet use expand, both in the US and in developing markets around the world. So, what have we seen today? We have seen of course, we looked at a graph, we looked at a chart, we looked at the various word categories, how words are used in their noun, verb, adjective, etc. forms, and then how to use vocabulary in context. So, these are the things that we would be practicing more of in our subsequent classes. So, thank you very much.